Welcome back to the John Frederick Radio Network. Time now, 9:09. Colonel Mike sitting in for John Fredericks. He'll be back tomorrow. On the line with us from the Midwest, our friend Terry Jarett. Terry, welcome to the show.
Colonel Mike, good to talk to you again. Good to be with you.
Yeah, welcome back. It's a new year, and it's already April. Gosh, we haven't talked to you in a while.
It has been a while, and certainly here I'm in the Midwest, in central Missouri, and
snowing.
We still have winter. It's about 30 degrees this morning, very, very cold. We had a little snow yesterday, actually, so winter is still hanging on here.
Well, we went from 92 to 74 to 54 to 47, and came down here to southern Virginia. It was 74 when I got here, and I left Northern Virginia. It was 42. We lost 40 degrees one day, and we lost 30. We lost 30 degrees the next day, and I picked up 30 degrees coming down, and that's all in 24 hours.
Wow,
it's amazing. Terry, what's happening with regards to energy? We haven't spoken in a while, but I did send you a picture this morning. There was a book out I saw at CPAC called "Nothing to Fear: A Bright Future for Fossil Fuels" by this guy Don Deers. I guess it is a bright future.
Yeah, Don is a very well-known author and commentator in the energy world, and certainly I am a big fan of his writings and sort of what he's been able to develop. Through research and his experience in the industry, talking about how we really do need fossil fuels to continue to power our electricity, continue to power our economy. And, we've seen here in just this past winter how much that baseload generation of coal, of nuclear, is very, very important to keeping the lights on.
Mm-hmm. What else is going on in the economic world of energy?
Well, certainly things are looking up for the coal industry. Of course, President Trump came in, lots of campaign promises to sort of dismantle Obama's war on coal. He's done that pretty much. He repealed the Clean Power Plan, sort of took that EPA policy down, and so that is not hanging over the heads of the industry anymore. You're starting to see, coal mining jobs are picking up a little bit. There's been a few mines that have reopened, so things are starting to get better in the coal industry. Certainly nothing near where we were, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but the heavy-handed regulation from Washington certainly is being lessened by the current administration, and that, of course, is always a positive sign.
Terry, do you have any numbers on how many jobs have been created since Trump has been, in regards to coal, like West Virginia, Kentucky, and so on?
We're talking probably several thousand. I don't have any exact numbers. There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal just a few days ago, I believe, that talked about how the numbers of coal mining jobs are ticking up. I'm guessing in the range of around 5,000, as I recall. Could be a little off on that, but it's certainly better than the alternative of jobs continuing to leave the industry. So things are looking positive.
Would you think, are we doing well with the natural gas, with this fracking and pipelines? Is that making us the energy exporter?
Well, certainly the fracking revolution means that natural gas is very plentiful now. We're using a lot more of it to generate electricity. And so, that's a positive sign. President Trump, again, the administration is trying to redo the regulatory burdens, that have been placed on the industry so that there can be more exports. And so you're going to see more exports in the future. We still do have a problem a little bit with the pipeline infrastructure in the United States, meaning we don't have enough. Okay. And we're going to need to build more pipeline capacity. And that can be difficult, especially back east. You have a lot of environmentalist types that oppose any type of expansion of pipelines, and so they're always, going to court and trying to fight any type of new construction. So that is still a battle, but folks are wanting to use more natural gas, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll be able to get more pipeline infrastructure built.
Terry, I remember a few years back, the automobile manufacturers had like some Honda Civic and another model that they were testing and working well, and it does work well in the Southeast Asia region of natural gas automobiles. But there was very few places that you can actually go and get natural gas. You probably had to drive like more than 50 miles or whatever. And then, the truckers were starting to look at this, and the big rig truck builders started putting natural gas engines in these cars, and then it just died off, and all of a sudden you're hearing they want to power these cars with electric energy.
Right, and you still see a lot of fleets, businesses, companies that are powering their cars by natural gas.
Oh, that's good.
But again, the problem is the infrastructure. You have to set up fueling stations for those, and in some parts of the country you see some of those, but certainly not all over the country. So, I've always thought that natural gas as fuel for vehicles makes a lot of sense. It is less carbon intensive than gasoline or coal. So if you're worried about that, that certainly is a better fuel. And it's so plentiful, because of the cost. It could be very, very cost effective. But yeah, the environmentalist folks have done a very good PR job of pushing, renewable energy, electric vehicles. And they dominate sort of the media when the media talks about these things. And it's a shame that we can't really have a common sense discussion about energy policy in this country. There may be some places where, some electric vehicles make sense and people want to use them. That's great. But I don't think that we've looked close enough at other alternatives, and we still have plentiful oil and gasoline, to power conventional cars, because of the fracking revolution, the oil shale, the oil sands. We have great reserves now of oil. And we can continue to use that as well, very, very cost effectively.
Would you consider us an exporter now of natural gas?
I believe so, and I believe of oil as well. I think at one point, at least for a month, the United States was the largest importer, even outpacing Saudi Arabia. Wow. I don't know that that's true every month or that we're consistently doing that, but certainly we are exporting more. We have plentiful reserves now because of all of our technological innovations with fracking and those types of things. And so we have a very, very bright future for energy. As long as we focus on, what our energy policy is, reliable and affordable electricity on the electricity side, and efficient, fuel for vehicles and transportation. We need to just make sure that we keep sort of an all of the above strategy is what I've always talked about, Colonel Mike. We need all of these sources of fuel, and we ought to use them. We need to use them wisely and reasonably, of course, but they all are important, and we need to use them all.
Terry, what would you consider a good or an average kilowatt price today in the market?
Well, right now, prices are running in the $20 to $30 per kilowatt hour, which is pretty reasonable. You see a lot of times it will drop even lower. And sometimes during the night when the wind is blowing and you got lots of wind energy on the grid, it drop to zero as far as your pricing. But because we still have a lot of coal, we have natural gas powering the majority of those two fuels powering the majority of our electricity. We still have very, very low marginal prices during most hours, and I think it continues to bode well for the future as long as we keep that in mind.
By the way, are you familiar with this $80 billion down payment type of investment coming into West Virginia from China?
No, I am not. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, there's an $80 billion so-called down payment. Is a memorandum of understanding now where they want to jump in and do the natural gas pipelines. It's going to be Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and I think parts of Virginia to get these natural gas, to make a hub, like a natural gas hub.
Right.
And I think Donald Trump, when he went to China, they signed it, but it was, you know how these deals go, Terry. They're
right.
done in advance, and it's just like a showpiece. But they're talking about upwards of almost $200 billion over a period of 10 years. That's a pretty large investment.
Well, certainly, and for natural gas usage, it's necessary. As I said before, especially in the Northeast, really the pipeline capacity there is lacking, and there certainly needs to be a lot more infrastructure. And of course, if you're talking about importing or exporting, having those types of hubs that you talked about to export the natural gas, there's a great demand worldwide for natural gas. China, Asia especially, wants natural gas, and we have it. And, we can supply it, but we do need the infrastructure to do so. And right now, we just don't.
We were just talking about that a little while ago with Senator Dick Black, a Virginia senator, because, he met with Bashir al-Assad way back when, with the Syria crisis. And I think that's part of, the issue. We helped overthrow the Ukraine so we can get a pipeline going for the Europeans. And now I guess Syria is the bump point, let's say the bump in the road, Got to get rid of Syria
right.
to get the pipelines through, and it's all about getting to Western Europe, because I don't think they have any access to natural gas, and I think they still run on oil, crude oil type of. In Germany, most of it is crude oil anyway.
Right. And there's certainly again a great need worldwide for natural gas and also coal. You still have a lot of these emerging countries in Asia, in Africa. China still uses a tremendous amount of coal. India, again, still building a lot of new coal plants and using a lot of coal. So, there's a great demand, and we have the supply to do that. And certainly, if we can export, we're going to be, helping our economy, creating jobs, and so forth. So
Terry,
it's a win-win for everyone.
Coming down here, you have to go through, to get to the studio, you have to go through Newport News, and you could just see piles, tons and tons and tons of coal right there on the bay, being loaded up on the ships for export. Virginia's a big coal exporter too, but I think West Virginia coal and the other coal has to come through this way. If it's not going by rail, it's going by ship, and it's got to come through Newport News.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and again, because it's so reliable and affordable. When you talk about creating electricity, it is the fuel of choice for most of the world, especially those emerging economies. that really need cheap, affordable, and reliable electricity to power and grow their economies.
Mm-hmm. It may not be big in Beijing, but it's big everywhere else in China. You know, they have a lot of pollution, but the coal is cleaner today. You could burn. There's so much technology, right, Terry? You know, you can definitely burn a cleaner coal, and I'm sure there'll always be more technology coming out as long as you have the supply.
That's exactly right. You know, the new coal plants, the modern coal plants that have been built in the last 10 to 20 years are very, very clean. You know, billions of dollars worth of environmental controls have been put into place in coal plants in this country. You've got, ultra critical and super ultra critical boilers that burn the coal at very, very high temperatures. And the higher the temperature, the more pollutants are just burned and wiped out by that high heat. And as you said, we're continuing to look at new technologies to make it even better. So, technology has always solved our problems, not just energy, but all of the problems we face. And we've seen with the fracking revolution, I was a commissioner here in Missouri, a public service commissioner, utilities regulator for 7 years, from 2007 to 2013. And in 2007, when I came into office, the price of natural gas was about $14 per million BTU, and they were talking about we were running out of natural gas. We'd be out of it completely in a few years. It just was, we were done with natural gas. Fast forward to 6 years later, when I left office in 2013, due to the fracking revolution, we had 300 to 400 years of reserves, and the price of gas was down below $5 per million BTU. Amazing. So, all due to that new technology, that fracking technology. So, that's what we need to focus on, I think, when we talk about solving some of these energy problems, is technology is going to play a big part of that.
Terry, thank you so much for getting up early in the morning and speaking with us. It's good to have you back on. We hope to have you on again soon.
You bet, Colonel Mike. Always good to talk to you, and I'd love to come back anytime.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Take care.
Bye now.